Welcome to Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant Podcast. These are the stories of those who have received, given, and who are waiting for the gift of life, organ transplantation. Now here's your host and heart and kidney recipient, BJ Odom.
Welcome to the Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant Podcast, where we explore the extraordinary world of organ transplantation. Each week we share inspiring stories and introduce you to remarkable individuals sharing their very own transplant stories. Be sure to support the podcast by leaving a 5-star review and subscribing on your preferred podcast platform. Have a transplant story yourself you'd like to share or comments about the podcast? Love to hear from you. Just email us, giftoflifepodcast@gmail.com. Again, that's giftoflifepodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget to connect with us on Facebook. Just look for Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant Podcast. This is BJ Odom. Yeah, the guy with more parts than a chicken nugget. My new memoir, packed with laughs, heart, and the unbelievable true story of survival that you've heard me talk about right here on The Gift of Life. Get your copy today. More parts than a chicken nugget, available now on Amazon. As we welcome you to episode 96. Today we're joined by Madison Staiger, a liver transplant recipient who received her transplant in December of 2018 and recently celebrated 7 years post-transplant. Madison shares how a simple trip to urgent care led to a life-changing diagnosis, the journey of getting listed, and how life is after transplant, including working at the hospital that saved her life. We'll talk with Madison Staiger coming in next. Madison, welcome to the podcast. It's nice to have you with us. And if you would, let's just kick things off by you telling us a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. So again, my name's Madison Staiger. I'm 33 and I received a liver transplant in December of 2018. So I had my 7-year anniversary last month. I'm originally from a small town in Pennsylvania, but have lived in Ohio now for a little over 14 years. I currently work as a program coordinator at The Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center, and that's actually the hospital where I had my liver transplant. I'm in the process of earning my second master's degree, and I really like to give back by volunteering with the Humane Society, Lifeline of Ohio, and donating blood when I can. And when I'm not doing all of that, I really enjoy bird watching, playing games, doing crafts, and going to the movies.
Now, I'm going to ask you a question before we get started with your transplant story, but I heard you were a blood donor. Now, as a heart and kidney recipient, I was told I was a PD, which was a permanent denial. Are you in that category now that you've had a transplant, or are livers different?
I think it's a little bit different with livers. I don't go, every single month. I try to space it out a little bit, but when I can, I like to.
Okay.
It feels good.
All right. Yeah. I know my wife even likes to go every once in a while. And, after I had my transplant and I was feeling a whole lot better, I went down there one time and started answering the questions, and they go, "Oh, you're a PD."
It's like, whoops.
And I go, "What's a PD?" And they go, "Permanent denial." And I'm going, well, okay, I guess.
Well, I tried.
In my world before transplants, I was in radio, and the PD meant program director, but now I'm a PD.
Right, exactly.
Now I'm a PD in the giving of blood donation. But nonetheless, Madison, let's get started, because it's all about you today, and let's get started with your story. Where did it all begin? Because every transplant story has a beginning.
Yes. So it started in February of 2018. I had been sick for a while and I thought maybe I had the flu. So I went to urgent care. As soon as I got back in the room, they were like, you need to go to the hospital. My eyes were yellow and I had a very low oxygen level. So luckily the hospital was right next door, got treated there, and got referred to my hepatologist. And that was a huge shocker when I saw him. He walked in the door and said, "You have hepatopulmonary syndrome, and the only way we can fix that is with a transplant." So I got started on the process of getting on the list, and it just went from there.
So then in the very beginning, I mean, obviously you knew you were sick because you went to the urgent care, but there was not a lot of signs until, you really started feeling bad then that you even had any idea.
And it went, and it started to decline pretty quickly. So I'm very glad that I found out at that point in time.
And then you got on the list. Now, why don't you tell everyone a little bit? Because it's always a story. Because to get qualified and to get on the list, it's not like, okay, you need a liver, you're on the list. It's a process.
It is a long process. Pretty much seeing every kind of specialist, having every kind of test. So it was a very long process. And I was very happy when I made that list.
Now, I know that before we went on air, you talked about having a deceased donor. Now, did you ever look or ask, or were you one of those people that were kind of shy and never really asked to see if you could find a living donor?
So I wrote a letter a couple years after my transplant, I believe. I haven't received a response, but I know that, family members, it's very, very difficult. So I completely understand that. And maybe in the future I'll try again and see what happens. But I completely understand that it's really, really a difficult time.
Yeah, with both my heart and kidney, they were both deceased donors. And I did reach out both times, got the heart in 2003 and the kidney 2015. But never did hear back from either one. But I mean, in the process, how did that work for you? After, you got on the list, were you in and out of the hospital a lot? Or, cause I've talked to people that once they were diagnosed, they sometimes spent 21, almost 2 months in the hospital before a liver actually came because they were quite sick. How was your process and waiting process?
So I didn't spend a whole lot of time in the hospital. However, I had to go on oxygen because my condition affected my lungs as well. So that was a huge reality check, that my condition was getting much worse. So I got called in once as a backup and that fell through. And then I got called in, I forget exactly how much later it was, but then I got the call and they said, "Get in here right away. You're our number one."
All right. Well, congratulations to you. Now, how was the surgery for you?
They did mine actually in the middle of the night on December 1st. I think it was, I can't remember how many hours. It was very long, as I'm sure you know. And I actually spent, I think it was the whole 2 weeks of recovery in the surgical ICU because I was still on oxygen. It took a few months for my liver to regulate and to everything to start working properly. So I finally was able to get off the oxygen, I think, the following February, which was fantastic.
And then now, how, like you said, then it took about a little over a month probably for you to get off the oxygen. And now do you feel pretty normal? Is life back to normal for you?
Pretty much. Yeah.
No problem with the meds so far? Because I know I talked to a lot of people that the meds really seem to take a toll on them. Now, like I said, I'm almost 23 years out on the heart. And so, over the years, the medications, have, done me over a few times, but, I'm still strong, still going and things like that. So How's that process been for you?
It's good now. I will say it was very difficult in the beginning because I think as a child, I didn't get sick that often, so I didn't really have to take pills. I took liquid, and I did not know how to swallow pills. So that was a very difficult time after my surgery. I struggled a lot with that. But one day it just clicked, and that is a lot of anxiety off my shoulders. So I'm very thankful that that kind of went that way.
Well, good deal then. How are you feeling today? I know you had a little bit of a cold here earlier in the week, but how are you feeling now?
I feel good. On the up and up, a little bit of a lingering cough, as usual, but I feel good, and I'm so thankful for this entire process. I wouldn't change anything if I could go back, and it's truly changed my life, and I'm very thankful for it.
Now, how long did it take for you to? Because you said you're back at work, right? You're working again.
Mm-hmm.
And how long
Yes.
How long did it take you to get back to work?
I think I went back to my job part-time. I was working somewhere else at that point. I think the following March, so roughly 3 months, but I think it was too much at that point. So I stopped and then went back a few months later. So probably 5 or 6 months, I would say, till I was fully comfortable and ready to go back.
Okay. Now I know you noticed, right? I noticed in the beginning you talked about you kind of work in the medical field. Now, were you doing that before, or was the transplant kind of endeared you into getting into the medical field?
Exactly. So I work where I had my surgery, and that's exactly the reason I work here, is because the care from every single person I received was incredible, and I wanted to work here. And it's been wonderful. I love working at the Ohio State Medical Center.
Awesome. Now, are you ever because, our immune systems are lower than most, or maybe you're mostly in an office. I'm not for sure what you do, but does it ever worry you, or, because I know when I go to the hospital, hey, BJ, mask up, they want you in that mask all the time. How is that for you?
So I do work in an office, but I wander around the hospital a lot, going to the cafeteria, different places. So I do think about it a little bit, but for the most part, I don't worry about it too much.
I'll tell you.
I don't get, for someone with a terrible immune system, I don't get sick that much, but usually the once a year flu season hits me like it is right now.
Well, I will be honest with you, and I hope none of my coordinators are listening, but yeah, I'm usually the guy that walks into the hospital, and then all of a sudden when I get on the transplant floor or the cath lab location where the nurses are seeing me, they're all, "Where's your mask? Oh yeah, I know. Here, okay, I'll put it on." So I think, you and I we're a little bad once in a while.
I think we're all so tired of it after COVID.
Oh yeah. Now that to me really worried me. Now you were kind of a newbie, and I was even out for quite a few years and had kind of gotten back to a normal life. How was the COVID years for you?
Luckily, the job I was at, I think it was when I first started working at OSU, they pretty much said, go home. And then we came back in a few months, and then we had all the protocols and the masking and the barriers. But it was kind of nice the first few months. I got a little break there, but yeah, we definitely felt it when we came back.
I was in the world of stand-up comedy. And of course, there's a lot of comics sometimes it'll be before you, especially if the close of the show or whatever. And so, I went back a little bit after COVID, but pretty much that kind of ended my comedy career. And I don't know why. Maybe because it might be because I'm getting so daggone old too, though. I'm not a young puppy anymore. And so, but yeah, even after my heart transplant, though, I was back out on the road and doing a lot of comedy, but and even after the kidney transplant, but yeah, COVID kind of like put the slow gear on me for sure. And I don't think I'd have to work out too much to get ready to go back out on the road. That's for sure. I've lost a lot of Yeah, I lost a lot of my timing and everything else. They say it's like a bicycle, though. Anything else we may have missed, or anything you'd like to discuss when it comes to, liver transplants and organ transplantation?
I will say one of the best things that I did after my surgery was see a psychiatrist who specialized in transplant patients. I really struggled for a while because I think when your body goes through such a huge transition and a change, your mind almost has to catch up. And I was struggling to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And so I saw this person, and it was exactly what I needed. It was wonderful. So I would recommend that to anyone going through the same situation.
Now, if I could ask, and you don't need to answer this question, but what was maybe the therapist or the psychiatrist, whatever you saw, what was probably the best piece of information they gave you that you might be able to pass on to other transplant patients?
I think it was just the fact that they could understand where I was coming from and exactly how I was feeling. Because as thankful as I am to my family for helping me through that time, it's hard to understand when you're not in that perspective. And so that was really the biggest thing for me, is that they knew how I was feeling and they knew where I was coming from, and they helped me see the light forward.
That's cool, because now, again, I always say too, every transplant story is different, but I was even sick as a child. I had my first open heart surgery at 22 months old, had another one at 13. Of course, I didn't get my transplant till I was in my 50s. Almost, I think I was maybe in my late 40s, early 50s. And so I had been through the medical ringer from birth. And so none of it, and maybe it's lucky for me and, not as lucky for people like you, that all of a sudden you're healthy and then boom, you hit the wall, where I had hit the wall and that was my normal. And so,
that was your baseline.
Yeah. So it didn't bother me much. And I almost feel like, oh, well, I didn't have to worry about that. That's pretty cool. But yet I see your side of it too. And I would think if, you were perfectly healthy and then all of a sudden, bam, one day you get hit with it, it is quite the shock and quite like hitting a wall. So when you heard the word transplant, how did that hit you and what was your reaction?
My family was with me at that appointment, and they will agree that we were speechless. That was the first thing, my doctor said when he came in that room, and we didn't know where to go from there. It was just an absolute shock. We never thought that would be the case. So we just had to take it one day at a time.
Now, one thing too, transplants become more and more common as we go along in this world. But I remember 23 years ago, even as a sickly person who had been sick all my life, and it was just like another hurdle for me. But when I heard that word transplant, it did something to me too. I mean, that was like a wall that I'd never hit before. And I'm like, oh, wow, they're going to want to take my heart out and maybe put somebody else's heart in. And it was so new, and I didn't know that many people. So I went to a support group, met some people, that had transplants, which kind of turned my world around to get to know them. So that made me feel better. And of course, I was on the radio back then, and I talked about everyday life like what I do on my other podcast, BJ and Bill, the podcast. And so it was something we talked about a lot. And I even had a couple heart transplant patients come in while I was waiting to interview them on the air and to learn more about them. And I think that was a good stepping stone for me, at least.
Yeah, when I mentioned earlier, I like to volunteer with Lifeline of Ohio. A few times a year, they do hospital visits to the transplant floor, and I think it's really great to go in and talk to the people who are waiting or have maybe just had their surgery and kind of give them hey, this is us. We were in your position. Now this is us, kind of down the road and out of it. And a lot of people have said that that's that's really nice to see someone who was in the same position and where they are now has kind of given them some hope. So that's a great thing. I really love to do that.
And I'd probably, same with the liver, with the heart, because when I was newly out of my heart transplant, maybe about a year or two, and whenever I'd go to the hospital, they'd go, "Oh, we've got a patient that is on the fence. They don't even think they want to even attempt a heart transplant. Would you walk in there and tell them you had a heart transplant?" And I'd go walking in and I go, "Hi there, I'm BJ. How you doing?" And, I had a heart transplant 9 months ago, a year and a half ago, whatever I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them, they would go, "Are you kidding me? You look normal." And I go, "Well, that's kind of why we do it. So we can pretty well look normal when we walk in."
So that's good.
Yeah. So I think, I've helped, and obviously you have too, help shape a lot of lives of people that are going into the transplant world. And so proud of you for doing that. Much appreciated.
Yeah. It's something that you just feel proud of and you want to share that with others.
Now, does working with, I'm in Florida, so I work with LifeLink of Florida. Do they have you every once in a while go out and do talks too, or are you on the speaking tour at all?
So I haven't done any of those. It doesn't quite align with my work schedule, but they do send us a lot of emails saying we have these events coming up. We need people to go out and talk. So we have a lot of active people in Lifeline of Ohio. It's great.
Well, I appreciate you sharing your story today, Madison. Like I said, anything you would like to say before we end our conversation today on the gift of life?
Just again, that I am so thankful for this experience and I wouldn't change a thing if I could go back. But thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Madison, thank you so much for sharing your incredible story with us all today. And be sure to join us each week for a new heartfelt episode. And if you have a transplant story you would like to share, just email us, giftoflifepodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook. Also, don't forget to like and share this episode with family and friends. And we would appreciate your 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. Reminder, my memoir, More Parts Than a Chicken Nugget, isn't just a medical story. It's a survival story with humor, hope, and heart. It'll make you laugh, maybe cry, but definitely believe in second chances. Get it now on Amazon. More Parts Than a Chicken Nugget. Another podcast you might enjoy is myself and former radio partner, Bill Stevens. BJ and Bill, the podcast, all on the Podcast Playground Network. We want to thank them for making this podcast possible. Until next time, I'm BJ Odom. Thank you for being a part of our journey and reminding us all to appreciate each and every day and to treasure the extraordinary gift of life.